This isn't a normal sight on the streets of downtown Toronto. Hundreds of young people walking single file, holding onto a rope as they march to Queen's Park. Rescue! Rescue! But in fact, this was happening simultaneously in 9 other countries and 100 different cities, thousands rallying together with one voice against Africa's longest-running war. Orchestrated by nonprofit organization Invisible Children, the instructions were clear: abduct yourself for the day and wait to be rescued. In other words, put yourself in the shoes of thousands of children in northern Uganda who have been abducted and forced to join a rebel army that has destroyed families, homes, and lives.
There's been a 23-year war going on in northern Uganda that's now spread into the Congo, and Joseph Kony has been abducting children into his army. Even in the last 3 months, there's been 1,300 kids that have been 1,300 people, 600 of them were kids, abducted and forced to fight in a war that's not their own. We're here to raise awareness and talk about what's going on. We're coming from one part of the city to the other, simulating what it's like to be abducted by the LRA. We're going to Queen's Park to sit until we're rescued by the media and media moguls that'll promise to use their influence and voice to do something about the child soldiers in northern Uganda.
This war, led by Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army, has wreaked havoc on northern Uganda for years. Terrorizing villages, mutilating people, and abducting children, almost 2 million people have left their homes in fear. In fact, for years, thousands of children would leave their remote villages and sleep in the closest major town, hoping they wouldn't be abducted as well.
We used to go and eat mangoes in the forest like that, without fearing the rebels, because in a day we cannot fear, but in a night we can fear. At night we can fear those rebels. Yes. Oh, for me also, I fear to sleep at home.
And while there have been attempts at peace talks over the years, Joseph Kony still remains free, while an international criminal court arrest warrant remains undelivered. And even though it's hard to keep count, it is estimated that over 65,000 people have been killed and over 40,000 abducted in Uganda alone.
The message from the children is very clear. The children from northern Uganda, they're asking for one thing: survival, peace.
What is taking place here really is very grave, except the world doesn't know. It's extremely grave.
So when 3 young men from Southern California visited the war-torn region a few years ago with cameras in hand, they had no idea what they would see or how they would get involved. What they found was story after story of destruction and frustration from many wondering how a rebel army could take over a portion of a country without being stopped.
We noticed a stark contrast in emotions between the children in America and the children in Gulu. The children here never cry.
When they see you crying, they ask you, what are you crying? Then you said nothing, then they say that now you're thinking about it. Oh, so we better kill you. So they kill you. But they don't know what is in your heart. You see?
Jason, Bobby, and Laren returned home later that year, produced a documentary on the war, and created Invisible Children, a nonprofit organization intended to mobilize young people into action by organizing protests, meeting with world leaders, and raising concerns about the invisible children of northern Uganda. The rescue is just one of many protests that have been planned since Jason, Bobby, and Laren first returned home from Uganda years ago. They've been spreading the word by using social networking sites like Facebook and their own site, invisiblechildren.com. Amongst the crowd at the rescue event in Toronto were 3 young men, Brad, Ben, and Drew, who we met a few hours earlier at their home in Cambridge, Ontario, just 2 hours west of Toronto. They, like many others, were moved by the documentary produced by Invisible Children. So for weeks, they held screenings of the film at local churches, doing anything they could to spread the word about the child soldiers of Uganda.
For me, the fact that it's like this has been going on for 22 years, and that like most people are just hearing about it now, and just seeing like the devastation that it's causing in the lives of the people in Uganda, and how like children, like entire generations, like 22 years, that's our age, like their entire lives, that's all they know. So just seeing that and having to understand that this is all they know really is something that drives me to be as much of a part of it as I can.
Even though it's been going on for 20 years prior to when I found out, I had no idea this tragedy was going on. And I found at the screenings too, that afterwards when people would come up and talk to us, they were so oblivious to the fact that all of this was happening.
I feel that as Christians specifically, that if we hear of injustice or something that's going wrong that goes against our beliefs and the biblical teachings in the Bible, then we have an obligation to take a stand against that. And it's like Brad was saying, if we hear about what's going on in Uganda and we just kind of turn our heads to it and hope that someone else does something about it, then we're part of the problem too, if we're not part of the solution.
And the rescue was meant to do just that, urge young people to get involved and catch the attention of politicians, media, and the general public.
Look how many people are here. There's so many people, and we were all walking a straight line downtown Toronto, and that was pretty sweet. So people who have no idea what we're doing will have seen us all walking in a row, and they're going to be going back home, looking on TV, and they're going to say that they were there, and they'll learn about it.
I hope that the public will be aware of the war that's been going on for 23 years and that we need to do something about it, and that we rescue all these kids that are being taken away and abducted. We're not leaving until we get rescued.
Weeks later, Invisible Children reported the event a success as politicians and media personalities came out to support the cause. And since the rescue, U.S. Senator Russell Feingold has proposed a new bill called the LRA Disarmament and Northern Uganda Recovery Act for 2009, in the hopes of urging the U.S. government to do everything it can to permanently end the war. But as for now, observers say there has been relative peace in northern Uganda, but many wonder how long that will last, and how long the children of Uganda will remain safe. For further information on Invisible Children and how you can get involved in helping end the longest-running war in Africa, go to our website at crossroads.ca. In Toronto, Ontario, Magdalene John, 100 Huntley Street.